Big thanks to Super7 for sending Wave 3 out. Check them out and links to buy in the description.
Kaiju, Turtles, Dragon Ball, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hey there, collectors, it is Steven here, and welcome back to... Did I say that maybe Mikey was my favorite for the Wave 3 of the TMNT Ultimates? Yeah, no, my favorite figure for Wave 3 of the TMNT Ultimates, and it is going to be Rocksteady. So we got Bebop, now we got Rocksteady, we already got Shredder, so quite frankly, for everything for Foot, we've got it. Just waiting on Slash, Toka, and Reza, and then, hey, we're good to go. But let's bring it on back down to earth, the big guy from Wave 3, and to finish off the Wave 3 reviews. So Rocksteady, large, in charge, Rhino. How he's going to see out of those goggles on his helmet, don't know, don't care. Let's take a look to see whether or not this guy's worth adding to your collection. Spoiler alert, if you're collecting turtles, yeah, he kind of is. Really hate to sound like a hype man, but I really do like Rocksteady. Taking a look at overall the turtle figures I have from Super7, yeah, I think this one actually just might be my favorite overall. In terms of looks, we got a lot going on here that I really do appreciate. Gray skin, looks good. Bumps, ridges, folds, great. Black wash to bring out all of the nice details that Rocksteady has, and that's going to include the horns as well. Clearly flared up nose, so it actually looks like he's got a little bit of anger going on here. He wants to gore those turtles. Yeah, he's looking pretty good. And then we do have the smaller details when it comes to those teeth. Great. He is wearing that tank top, which has some rather impressive detail to it. He is going to be wearing those turtle shells on his belt. And for the camo paint apps on the legs, they are going to be cast in brown plastic, but that paint application that they have there, whether or not it's going to be decals or some sort of actual paint masking technique that was done at the factory, there aren't any chips, there aren't any blobs, there aren't anything that sort of signifies a serious quality control issue here. So overall, I mean, yes, it does sound like I'm being overly realistic here, but what I will say is that I think this figure looks very good, and if you like Rocksteady, you do like the vintage Playmates figure, then congratulations. You should really like this one as well. So Rocksteady's really fun to move around just because of the joints and the fact that you can put him into some fun poses, despite the fact that he's probably not the most super duper articulated action figure you're going to get this year, but you can still have fun. So what do we have? Well, head's going to plug in on a ball joint so we can get him to look around. Just because of the sculpt, he can't really look down that far, but we can utilize other joints to get him to look down. So just talking about that neck joint, that's what I'm talking about there. But he can look up side to side, spin around, all that good stuff with the ball joint. He is going to have swivel hinge shoulders, so he can T-pose, which is very good. It looks like there would be a cut for a bicep swivel, but there is not. But with the single hinged elbows, that far is the bend, there is a swivel as well. So that is good. Very nice. Wrists, they peg in, so we do have swivel and hinge. He is going to come with an alternate set of hands, going to have the same range of movement. We do have a waist swivel. Be wary of the belt, so don't really force anything and do it constantly over and over and over again to spin them around. Use the range of movement that you would need. Just don't want to tear anything. Right. So hips, swivels hinge, like that. Kick out about that far. Forward and back. We can do the splits. Very good. And as usual, they do plug in for thigh swivel movement. He is going to have single hinge knees, which do feature swivels as well. And then as you take a look here, we do have a little bit of hinge movement for the ankles. And then we do have ankle rockers with the swivels. That's it, right? Yep, we do have a boot cut, as they call it, swivel joint as well. So, is this guy bringing home any awards for most articulated figure ever? No. However, combine this guy with some accessories, and you have one fun Rhino action figure on your hands. This guy is really fun to mess around with, and you can put him into some fun poses, and he can definitely terrorize the turtles on your shelf. Accessories, and if you have Bebop, then you're pretty much going to know exactly what we have going on here for Rocksteady because, you know, they kind of go together, so hey, they're going to follow in each other's footsteps. So we're going to get an alternate set of hands, which are actually going to be fists. We're going to get his retro mutagen gun. We're going to get a manhole cover shield, a turtle carver knife. We're going to get an unpainted weapons rack, and we're going to get 3 grenades. So here's a look at the weapons rack, which again, if you want a Rocksteady with classic Playmates colored weapons, unpainted weapons, you do have that option. Now, for Rocksteady here, he does come with a few different weapons. So he does have his gun, which looks pretty cool, and he can hold it like a typical rifle. So that is nice to see. If you want him looking like he's charging into battle holding this, you can do that. I'm sure if you get some tape, you can tape up the knife on it like a bayonet, and then we can go from there. He is going to come with grenades, which he can hold, kind of like he's getting ready to chuck one of them or 2 of them. You can definitely do that. The grenades have some rather nice detail to them, so kudos to Super7 for making sure they actually look good. And with 3 of them, you can even maybe loan these out to some other figures you might have in your collection who don't have grenades. Rocksteady is going to come with the city sewer shield and his knife. And I will say, if you do recall Bebop, he came with a shield as well, which was rather difficult to get into his hand. But once you were able to do that, it did kind of work out just fine. Rocksteady here, no issues getting it into his hand. His hand is rather pliable, so this way you can get it to slip in, and it looks rather natural. And then when it comes to the knife, that slips into his hand just well enough. And that's kind of all I got to say here. Now, I don't really particularly show a good picture of him with his fists just because they're fists, they're closed up. And for accessories, I can't really think of what else to include here except for maybe some form of communicator, harkening back to the cartoons. But what I will say is really missing here would be splayed hands. If he came with splayed hands, I would say they would pretty much nail the accessories. That's the only thing that is missing here. Otherwise, Rocksteady is rather nice in the accessories department. But he is a rhino. He's going to be destroying stuff. You probably want explosions, and maybe you want some support stands in case you feel like maybe you want to put him in a fun pose that he can't support based on his own weight. You know I have videos to help you out with that. And here's a size comparison with all of Wave 3 side by side with some other figures you just might have, whether it's just going to be general, let's say SH Figuarts, or some other turtle related products. As you can see, they all scale nicely, not only with each other, but they blend in pretty well with some other figures. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Considering the market right now, Rocksteady is going to clock in at about $45 to $50, and that is a steal considering there aren't going to be a whole lot of TMNT figures on the market that are easily accessible to collectors, and Rocksteady is rather iconic. If you're a fan of TMNT action figures, not necessarily the more so static vintage stuff that is on the market, not knocking that, but there are some collectors who want more so action figures, like myself. This Rocksteady is a fantastic choice. It looks very good, articulates rather well. You can get into some fun poses if you know how to move your figures around, and the accessories pretty much are fine and dandy. Nothing really else to say except for he needs some splayed hands. Rocksteady is a rock solid release, and if you need something else to go along with them, get Bebop and Shredder. You'll have a nice complete collection there. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.